Today, we're going to be working on calculating central values on your Excel sheet. So we'll start with just your mean, median, and mode, that sort of thing. And then find your average or your, it says binomial variable. It's not working with binomial. We're going to be working with your expected value. So we are in chapter 8.3, and we're going to be first completing this particular example where we are just going to be typing in these values right here. We'll put that over here. So that would be down here with your data. So we have 90, 90, 85, 80, 80, 80, 80, 85, 90, and 100. Now if I pull my sheet back up here, it says in B26, we want to find your mean or your average. So we're going to just do exactly that. Average and average. We are then going to highlight our data that we want. And there you go. If we want your mean, we're going to type in, or sorry, median. We're going to type in the word median and then one more time, highlight. And then again, mode, so equals mode, and one more time, highlight. So mean, median, mode can still be calculated on Excel very quickly. Notice that you do not have to put it in any particular order. Just as long as you have all of your data listed out, we should see your mean, median, and your mode. And based on your lecture, we should already know exactly what those are. Now, we also discussed in chapter 8.3 that it's not always realistic to find your average using the traditional means like such. Instead, we use your expected value. So that uses E of X, which is also meaning your mean, so that mu, which uses probability to aid our efforts, to aid our findings. So we have this portion right here. This is the sum product. So this is the summation. And so we're going to be using something like that in the future, where we're taking all of your X values and then we're multiplying it by its probability. So it says, let's take the example about Uber drivers found in our guided notes. So that would be, let me show you that one. So we're going to be doing this one about our Uber drivers, where it says, we're using your rounded midpoints. So Uber drivers, we started with this bin range, and now we are using your midpoints. Recall that in your frequency lab, we had something like this where we had your unemployment rate. We said, hey, it kind of encompasses a bigger range. So of this range of midpoint, let's go ahead and use your midpoint value. So the middle value between this particular range. So that is exactly what we are doing here. So let's go ahead and type those values in. So we have 25,000. And notice that it's saying a rounded midpoint. So that's why all of our values are going to be rounded. So now that we have all of these typed out, we're then going to go over to your probability. So it says in B4 to B10, use the frequency and total frequency to calculate the probability if not already given. So sometimes in your homework, they give you the probability and other times not. Notice that we have been given your frequency here. And we also know that we have 1,000 Uber drivers. So that is exactly what we did here, where it says the probability of X. So that is, okay, if I'm taking this one here, we have equals the 20 that it occurred over the total 1,000. And again, if you wanted to do that, we have 80 over 1,000. Again, 230 divided by 1,000 equals 400 divided by 1,000. All right, so we should have all of these probabilities, and they actually should all match up with this probability distribution below. Perfect. So now what we get to do is from C4 to C10, right? It'll do exactly as it says. So up here it says you're multiplying your x value, these outcomes, with the probability of it actually occurring. So equals this A4 times this B4. And because they're all going to be the exact same, or like the same format or the same style, we can just drag and drop here. So it says in B13, so that being over here, we want to find your expected value. Your expected value is coming from the sum of these values. So equals sum of this total. And there you go. And that is coming from your equation. You took the x value, you multiplied it by the probability, so that's in this cell. And then this fancy looking e here is just the summation of that. So your mean, your center, is about $54,500 or so. That would be your average income. So it says in the future, we will be using this sheet and this data to find your standard deviation and variance. It's okay to use your sheet for this one for your homework in the meantime. We will still be working on this later on. So now we also talked about the binomial expected value. So we're going to go over to where it says binomial here. And you'll notice that down here, we have some cells for your expected value and your variance and your standard deviation. Again, these will come later. We're going to be interested in your expected value. So it says, go to the sheet titled binomials over here, and it says in B16, we're going to say equal. And your example says n times p. That is referring to your n and p above. So we can say, okay, well, your n is above here. That is 6 times your p, your success, is right below it. So B3. And again, these will change as you go, but your expected value here is just the center location, your mean, based on this spread, or based on this particular problem of n and p, your mean is about 1.2. And I think we are talking about like the number of residents that you can select that are 65 or older. So your chances more likely are just to get one person out of the total 6. And it's like 1.2 of a person, right? You can't technically have the 0.2 of a person, right? A fifth of a person. But again, it's okay because this is an average. And of course, you can have this done and completed by your calculator by hitting the following. So that is still easy if you like using some sort of ATI calculator.